A few hours ago, we looked at what was happening in Mathira constituency regarding Gashagua's constituency, where it was all running battles between the police and the residents. And new details are still emerging from Mathira. Cyprian is Nyakundi, masked men in plain clothes, firing live rounds as they patrol Karatina town in Subarus without license plates. So Nyakundi is just trying to inform Kenyans that in Karatina, masked men in Subarus are firing live ammunition. Thus regarding Gashagua's constituency. Why is Rigathi Gachagua silent? Let's have a look at those photos there. You are seeing those men there. Yes, and even the car's no number plate. And this is a trend that seems to be getting momentum in William Ruto's government. And for Kenyans to make a stop to this, they have to say an emphatic no. If Kenyans are silent as this happens, then it will be the norm. I don't know why Rigathi Gachagua is silent as his own people are being mistreated. Rigathi has to come out and make things clearly. Earlier in the day, residents of Karatina held some peaceful protests. They were not interfering with anybody. It's until the police came that we started seeing running battles, police being pelted with stones. So it's very clear from where I sit that the police caused all this chaos we are witnessing in Karatina town. This should send a lesson to Kenyans. I remember last year when opposition supporters were on the streets protesting, Kenya Kwanza supporters were encouraging the police to be more brutal. And we used to see Rigathi Gachagua waking up very early in the morning, going to his office to coordinate on how the opposition supporters were to be dealt with. That was Rigathi Gachagua just last year. In 2024, you are now seeing his own people are under siege and he's silent. He only talks about the mountain when he wants the people to rally behind him. Right now, Mathira residents are under serious attacks. Rigathi is silent. I want us to dig deep into all this for Kenyans to understand what's happening here. Before we do that, let's have a look at this. That's how the situation has been in Mathira. It's clear the rogue police officers in Subaru are out there terrorizing Mathira residents. Let's put all this into perspective. If you are watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. Let's proceed. Looking at what is happening in Mathira, there are some lessons Kenyans should learn. It's only that Kenyans never learn and they forget things very easily. In this forum, I've always been very consistent and I'm still consistent. It's only that some Kenyans do change directions. I'm still where I've all along been, consistent, straight and to the point. The first lesson Kenyans should learn: a bad leader is bad for everybody. When the righteous are in authority, the people celebrate. When the wicked are in authority, the people mourn. It's clear Kenyans have been mourning for the past 2 years. So don't elect bad leaders because they are your tribesmen or your friends or people you are close to or people who you think are going to settle some political scores against your enemies. Don't elect bad leaders, elect good leaders. It's true a section of Kenyans, the mountain and the college in Rift Valley, did elect bad leaders to punish Raila Odinga and to punish the Luo community. It's important we say these things in public to see if Kenyans can at least learn some lessons. So the mountain brought this bad leadership on Kenyans, and they are now paying dearly for making wrong political choices. And I'm saying that because I'm seeing some still talking about Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi is a worse-off version of Ruto. So Kenyans should and must learn. Failure to learn, then will still continue perishing. Secondly, an injustice should be condemned, whether the injustice is on your enemy or not. An injustice should be condemned. That's why we must condemn what is happening. Political affiliations do change. In Kenya, there are no permanent friends or enemies in politics, but just permanent interests. Today, Raila and Ruto are seemingly together. Maybe tomorrow they won't be there. But one thing that is constant, an injustice has to be condemned. The mountain failed to condemn an injustice that was being meted on opposition supporters last year. This is why now we must stand out to condemn the injustice being met on the mountain residents. We saw what happened in Githurai, and it appears something bad might be happening in Mathira. Mathira is now clearly being profiled, and we are still going to see very strange things as time goes by. So we must condemn all this injustice, and that should be a lesson to the mountain. All along, the mountain has been giving us very bad leaders. And also looking at what is happening, maybe Ruto's government knows more than we know. It appears this crackdown is too serious on areas inhabited by the mountain people. It might be that the government knows more than what we know, and that's why they are putting a lot of effort in those areas. Or maybe Ruto has just a bone to crack with the mountain. Something also coming out very clearly, it might be possible that Rigathi Gachagua is sanctioning these protests in his constituency. Or if he's not sanctioning them, then his people in Mathira, they don't trust his words. We saw Rigathi Gachagua warning the mountain people against taking part in the protests. But we are still seeing the mountain taking part. It might be possible that Rigathi is not honest. Behind the scenes, he might be influencing these protests. And the kind of force the government is using on those protesters convinces me that those are not sponsored protesters by the government. The government could not be using that force to an extent of live ammunition if those who are government sponsored goons in Mathira. I don't think even the police could even bother with them. But the mere fact that men in Subaru are out even firing live ammunition, it confirms beyond any reasonable doubt that those are not government sponsored goons. Those are goons who might have been sponsored by maybe Rigathi Gachagua or his close allies. All those are Rigathi Gachagua's allies who are just trying to sympathize with him. And the only way they can sympathize is to come out to protest against Ruto's government. Yeah, that's also something I'm seeing here. And that can also confirm that the mountain is not listening to Rigathi. If they were listening, they could have not been protesting because he has warned them against the protests. And that again confirms our earlier point that maybe behind the scenes, Rigathi and his team are planning these protests, but out in public, they pretend to be against the protests. That's what I'm seeing here. So Kenyans should learn a lesson. And injustice should be condemned, irrespective of political affiliations. Affiliations politically do change. Today, politicians are together, tomorrow, they are not together. So, an injustice has to be condemned. Don't elect bad leaders in order to punish your enemies. That bad leader will turn against you. Let me stop it there. If you are watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. Let's meet in our next analysis, where we are also working on a very interesting video on Casmuel Makore. Yes, we are getting some very interesting news on him. Let's meet in that analysis.